All right. Kasia, it looks like we are live. You are joining me from Poland. It's evening in Poland. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me. I've really enjoyed restarting this webinar series. We had about 100 episodes of a webcast that we did during COVID, and we stopped for about a year, and then we decided we would try this format. And it's always fun for me to catch up with my friends around the world and hear what they're doing. And so I'm so happy that you were able to clear some time in your schedule to join me. So please introduce yourself to the audience. Let us know where you are, what you're doing, and then we'll dive into our topic on technology in the EU.
Thank you very much, Jonathan, and thank you for this invite. It's my pleasure to be here. Although, as you said, already it's 7 p.m. in Warsaw, Poland, where I'm based. Actually, I'm a technology/regulatory lawyer, so I deal with everything in relation to TMT, intellectual property regulation for the financial sector. I try to combine those two types of law, meaning civil law, contracts law, and then regulations. And I have a lot of experience for advising my clients in blockchain sphere. So this is my sweet spot, so to say.
And I think that's how we met was around our mutual love of blockchain and interest in all things blockchain. So, and of course that has dovetailed into as AI has really eclipsed blockchain in the last year, I think, and at least taken up a lot of the news print. And then, of course, we have conversations with clients about integrating AI into blockchain. So, of course, it's not going away, because if you can compound technology on top of technology and create some synergies, and we know our tech clients are always going to do that as often as they can.
Yeah, that's correct.
So let's dive in. We've got 15 minutes or 13 minutes left. Let's talk about some of the upcoming legislative changes in the EU. What are you seeing? I know, I mean, we hear about certainly MICA in terms of the crypto markets. You've mentioned DORA to me in the past, and the new AI Act that I don't know anything about. So please give us an overview of what you're seeing and what's important right now in the EU.
Yeah, sure. So actually those three acts that you mentioned are those that are on the table right now. Of course, we have some other acts and some other legislative initiatives like Digital Services Act, for example, but then I would like to focus on those that you mentioned, because first, I think there will be a lot around them in the coming years. And then I think the relevance for US investor, for US companies, is huge. When it comes to those three legislative proposals or already enacted pieces of law. So
great.
yeah,
So
maybe
what do you want to start with? Yeah, which one of those is coming the soonest? Is MICA, because it's we've got just a few months until the first portion of MICA goes live in the EU.
Yeah. Actually, it's a very good idea. Maybe let's start with MICA then. So MICA is a Market in Crypto Assets Act, and it was enacted some time ago, and we still have 1 year to be obliged to be fully compliant with MICA. Then we have some additional grace period in MICA that is available for the member countries of the European Union. So basically it means that every single European country could decide on prolonging this deadline of the January 2025. And there is possibility to prolong it for 18 months. There are some discussions in different European countries how long it should be, whether it should be like only prolongation for 6 months or 12 months maybe. So this is really a discussion and the differentiating point between different jurisdictions in Europe. Then what I observed recently is still a lot of forum shopping in terms of registration and getting, so to say, licenses in the European Union. For example, in Poland, we don't have a proper legislation on crypto-related stuff. We only have a very simplified procedure for virtual asset service provider license, but it takes only like 2 weeks to get this, and this is not a proper license. And because of this simplicity of being registered to some extent in Poland, I have a huge wave of clients from all over the world. including from other European countries coming to Poland and saying, okay, we want to be registered in your jurisdiction. So of course, then they will have to comply with MICA, but it will be on the later stage. So that's why they are deciding to do that. At least this is my impression. And I think that, again, blockchain is somehow getting traction in Europe again. And we do have more trust in this technology because, of course, we had this crypto winter and we had those all, prophets saying, okay, this is the end of blockchain. This is not really the case. And I see kind of maturity in the market, and the clients that are coming to me now are better clients than those in the past, meaning that they do have some kind of a real proposition value. And they want to make like a clean, trustworthy business and not just to gain quick money. So this is my take on MICA and blockchain right now.
Yeah, and there is so much value for blockchain projects to say that they have a virtual asset service provider license, even if it's, like you said, even if it's a shortcut license right now, like you might be able to get in Poland or any other offshore countries that are offering some kind of licensing. I know that my conversations with clients around this licensing issue, through the crypto winter, through all, FTX, all the things that we saw in the news, everyone got nervous all of a sudden. And especially in the US, where we don't have a lot of regulatory clarity, we have a lot of companies that are looking offshore. And if they can get a license anywhere in the world, it looks better than having no license at all.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
So let's move on then. Is AI or DORA? Which one of those do you want to tackle next?
Maybe AI Act,
Sure.
because we had some news recently. Actually, a new version, the last version probably of AI Act was released or leaked to the general public last week, I guess. And I think there's a lot of still uncertainty around AI Act. And my main take and my main opinion about AI Act is that it really, so to say, risks our competitiveness against US companies. Of course, AI Act will have extraterritorial application, but then we already seen this kind of situation when some AI-related US companies decided not to enter European market at all, in order to not to be under regulations that we will have shortly in here. So the question is that, do we really want to put so much pressure and so much importance on protection, on regulation, and on making sure that everything is very much in line with our idea of what is right, and then on the other hand, not having all these innovative, great projects in the European Union? And I really don't have a clear answer to that. I'm not sure whether we should go in that direction though. And of course, as I mentioned, if we will have this AI Act in this form in force, AI companies entering in European market will have to comply. So we will have some kind of different types of AI systems. We did have a lot of conversation around definitions, generative AI, prohibited AI system, etc., etc. And of course, we will have some exceptions to application of AI Act. But then in the end, from my perspective, it will be pretty burdensome. And if we have this very broad application of an act, and we will have many actors to be in the scope of application of this act, we will see again a lot of work for lawyers. But then very often what I observe, clients are trying somehow to circumvent this kind of obligation. So maybe again they will decide to go somewhere else than to Europe in order not to be under those regulations.
I think I always appreciate, and I don't think I appreciated it early in my career when I wasn't working with a lot of European lawyers, but now that I've joined AIJA like you, and I have the opportunity to travel to Europe and certainly interface with a lot of my counterparts in Europe. I really appreciate that the EU tends to jump into the regulation, I'd say, much more quickly than in the US. US government sits back and says, well, let's see what happens. Regulators, the SEC, FTC might make some examples out of some companies that would be behaving badly. For instance, they're very focused on fraud, but they kind of let the technology run and run and run. And I like that I can look over to the EU and see what's going on there in terms of the drafting, prospective drafting, like you said, dealing with definitions and really as lawyers, that's what we need, right? We need definitions to figure out what we're talking about, even when we're talking about new technologies. So I really appreciate that. It's a good shortcut for me to be able to jump across the ocean and hear what everyone's talking about and then come back to the US. It makes me look like a little bit of a prophet because I can benefit from all the extra work that you're doing over there. So what about DORA then? We've talked a little bit about MICA and AI. What's going on with DORA?
Yeah, DORA is maybe less known for you guys from the US, but
I had to look it up. Yes, I had to look it up to see what DORA stood for. Digital Operational Resilience Act. Okay, tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a little bit more niche. It is an act that will be aimed for the financial sector mostly. So then every financial institution will have to comply with the regulations, with the requirements from DORA. But then indirectly, also ICT service providers will have to comply because the DORA is about, to some extent, about contracting between financial institutions and then providers of computer telecommunication related services. So every time, for example, when a Polish or German financial institution will contract with, for example, Amazon or Microsoft, the requirements from DORA will have to be taken into account. It means that our regulator is expecting from the ICT service providers, also from US, to modify, adjust contracts with financial institutions in the European Union in order to have this digital operational resilience in the whole sector as such. Of course, DORA is not only about contracting, it's also about other things, meaning that some ICT service providers will be under the supervision of the local authorities. So some ICT service providers will get a decision, administrative decision, telling them, okay, guys, now you are under our supervision and we will check whether you comply with some requirements from DORA, meaning, for example, in relation to incidents reportings, in relation to preparation of procedures, exit plans, business continuity plans, documents around risk assessment. So all this additional documentation will have to be prepared both by and for first and foremost by the financial institutions, but then also to a certain extent, ICT service providers will have to cooperate also on, for example, trainings. So if we have a financial institution based in Germany and they use cloud computing services provided by a US company, sometimes this Polish or German company will ask the provider, okay, guys, we need to have your cooperation because we need to prepare a plan for our trainings for our employees. So I think that the underestimated relevance and importance for the both financial sector and also for the ICT sector, this will be very relevant, and we will see that in a very short period of time because DORA will be in place in 1 year.
That's great. So we're almost at time. It goes very quickly, but I'm so glad that we had a chance to check in, and certainly I will be keeping an eye on these acts as they're rolling out. And sometime maybe I'll have you back and you can explain the whole European Union legislative process to me, because so many layers. I'm sure it feels that way for people outside the United States as well, about how laws actually get passed and enforced in the US. So one last thing for anyone who's watching, if you're interested, next week We'll have Dan Harris on here. He's one of our firm's founding partners. We'll be talking about big things happening in China. And next week, we're also doing an hour-long free webinar with me, Dan Harris, and Fred Rockefeller talking about kind of a China business market update and what we're seeing on the legal side. So if you're interested, check us out on LinkedIn, and you can tune in for that hour-long free webinar as well. Kasia, thank you again. I'm looking forward to catching up with you probably in Mexico City, I think, in a few months. So really appreciate it. Always good to see you. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.